So people like Richard Dawkins put forward this view that atheism is the only rational position that you can take in today's world. And I am not a believer in traditional religion, but I do feel that there are some good things to be learned or appreciated in religion, religious writings, or religious arts, despite the fact that from today's scientific point of view, many of the things cannot be taken as literal facts. Rather, they are metaphors and ways of thinking that might inspire us. And so, today I really like to talk about the Isaiah, the Old Testament, and in book 53, I think there is this passage about Christ, that he was despised and rejected by man, a man of sorrows and familiar with suffering. Like one from whom men hide their faces, he was despised, and we esteemed him not. This is from MIT website about Bible, and I find this passage really fascinating and interesting. And as you know, this was put to very beautiful music by Handel in his magnum opus, The Messiah. And the melody goes like, "He was despised and rejected." You know this passage. I think this is just before the marvelous Hallelujah chorus, and this is quite interesting because Jesus Christ, who you might not believe to be Son of God. That depends on your perspective, but when all things are said and done, I think Christ was a genius, religious genius. From my point of view, of all the genre of genius, I think that a religious genius is the most rare and valuable because a religious genius should combine and integrate all the known facts about the world at that time and present a system of values that can be believed in and that can guide your life at the time. So the fact that we do not have any religious systems that intellectuals can believe in today's world is due to the fact that we do not have a religious genius in on the scale of Jesus Christ in that today's in contemporary context, because it is a really long shot to come up with systems of values and world models that would be compatible with the known facts about the world today from the scientific point of view. Big Bang and dark matter, dark energy, mind-brain relations, and all these things. It is really hard to come up with a convincing system of values that would encompass all these things. And Christ did that, I think, at that time. So arguably, Jesus Christ was a religious genius, and who really inspired a lot of people. You know, so it's quite interesting, given the fact that Jesus Christ was this excellent individual, that people actually did despise and reject Jesus Christ at the time. So how would this kind of thing happen? And from emotion point of view, the brain can have a lot of emotions, including fear, anxiety, and of course, you can despise something, and despise this emotion is very interesting because you can, when you despise somebody, you can actually maintain your old self. You can be on the bandwagon of the momentum. I mean, you do not have to review yourself when you despise somebody, because you would believe that this individual is beneath you, this individual is inferior to you. So in that way, you can kind of uplift your present self and maintain what you believe and what you do, uh, you know, without questioning your very foundation of life. And that is what happens when you despise somebody. So the fact that Jesus Christ was despised and rejected by men at the time means that these men wanted to keep their own ways. I mean, they wanted to maintain the traditional systems of values. Um, Probably Jesus Christ was bringing good news, new inspirations for people to live by. And history turned out that indeed many people were inspired by Jesus Christ and changed their ways they view humans in terms of compassion and love and, you know, all these things that makes us human. But so there are also tendencies in people to maintain the status quo, not to review one's ways, and that resulted in people despising and rejecting Jesus Christ. So this is a very deep wisdom expressed in the Bible. And I think these things can still inspire us at present, even if we do not believe the Bible in the literal sense. So this insight that when new things come, we can protect our old self by despising and rejecting these things is a very interesting observation, and this is happening all the time. For example, when the hippie movement started in the United States, and these the so-called flower children, I think represented new ways of seeing the world and living. And at the time, I think many people despised these people because they wanted to keep their own traditional way of thinking. But look at what happened since then. I think the feelings and sensitivities and thinkings represented in the hippie movement actually became a part of the mainstream culture today. So if you look at the way I am dressed, it's very casual, but it's okay to be dressed like this. If you go to a conference like TED or any academic meetings, I mean, it's really okay to be dressed like this. But at the time of the hippie movement, I think many people despised these people who were dressed casually, looking down on them. So these value changes can happen, and when new things come, people do reject and despise these new movements. The same thing can be actually said about Albert Einstein, for example. This is quite interesting. When Albert Einstein came up with the theory of relativity, maybe this was a misnomer because many people mistook relativity as a kind of cultural relativism. And so I know for a fact that, for example, in Germany, many people rejected and despised this new theory coming from this Jewish person, Albert Einstein, because, many people thought that it was a challenge to the old system of thinking, and indeed it was a challenge to the new old system of thinking, specifically the Newtonian space-time idea. And Albert Einstein was proved to be correct, and theory of relativity, transformed the physical world. But it's quite interesting that some people tried either consciously or unconsciously to reject Albert Einstein's new theory by despising and rejecting his person and his theory. So this lesson that when new things come, we might despise and reject these things in order to keep the old self and old values. It's a very valuable point to be taken in today's world too. So there are things that you can learn from the Bible. As I said, even if you don't believe in this religion in the literal sense, you can take many inspirations from these things, and that is great because it shows that humans can be insightful even without contemporary context, and that is actually the foundations for any classics to take value, to hold value for a long, long time.